Thank you, Brian. That's okay. Thank you. So, thank you so much for having me, Brian. Oh, I forget I have a microphone here. It's such a pleasure to be a part of the Positive Speaker Series, more because what it means. Right now, Emiliano, my nephew, just asked me, what's the purpose of this? What are you going to talk about? And I said, you're going to wait and see. But the purpose, just like Brian said, is to ensure that we continue to bring positive people in our own community, people that we can connect with. And I know that throughout my journey, I have connected with a lot of you. And it's with great humbleness and great honor that I'm able to share my story with you today. And it's my first time that I'm going to share my story in a setting like this. I have done hundreds of presentations throughout my academic life, through my work of processes, of different topics, but never had I really talked about myself. And so when Brian invited me to be a part of this, I thought it was going to be in his classroom, because he teaches a leadership classroom. And I thought, yeah, of course, I can definitely be a part of this. But then when he said, oh, somebody's gonna call you because they're gonna do pictures and they're gonna do this, I said, wait, is this the one that you did last year? Because I remember it, this is the second year they do this. And he said, yeah, it's the same one. I said, oh, you have no idea how many times I grabbed my phone and texted, but I didn't click on send, and texted, you know what, Brian, I think you might be better off choosing someone else, because I get really emotional when I talk about myself, so I want you to excuse me for that. But let's move forward with this. And Mitch told me to point at him. So who am I? I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm an auntie. Oh, sorry, I don't know. I haven't even started, I'm already emotional. Oh my God. Right? I'm a friend. I'm a mentor. And I'm an advocate. And when I say this, the things that we do, the thing that we do for a living isn't really what defines us. It's what we choose to do with our free time that truly defines us. And that's the reason why I put mentor and advocate on there, because I really truly feel the importance of mentoring others, the importance of advocating for the things that you truly are passionate about. And I'm going to share with you my passions. As far as an advocate, health, immigration, those things, education, political representation, those are the things that I'm really, really passionate about. And let's move forward. This is where I knew I was going to start. So if you can read this, it says, if I can see further, it is by standing in the shoulders of giants. Si puedo ver más lejos, es porque estoy parada en los hombros de gigantes. And so I have my giants here. That's my dad, Raúl, and that's my mother, Bertha. And they're right here, and I would like for them to stand. Si pueden pararse, por favor. Yeah. So these are my giants. These are the shoulders that have lifted me to be able to look further, beyond. And it wasn't easy, because they truly sacrificed a lot. They sacrificed cultural barriers, language barriers. In order for me to tell you about my story, I think it's very important for me to honor where I come from. And so I'm going to tell you, like I said, first I'm a daughter. So I'm a daughter of immigrant parents. And these are not my parents, the three, but I found those pictures because I wanted to share what they did. I did not have pictures. So my dad came here when he was 14 years old. He was the oldest of a then family of 10 children, later 12. And my grandfather brought him to this country to work. My grandfather brought him to this country because he needed to provide for his family in Atotonilco, El Alto, Jalisco. And he was a child, just think about it. When you were 14, is that the life that you had? We are so fortunate. But he did it with a lot of pride. And he had to grow a mustache so he can go to school and learn English. And why did he have to grow a mustache? Because he was 14 years old, and if they found out that he was a minor, he would have to go to school. And that's not what his dad brought him here to do. But nevertheless, he persisted. And to this day, he still works in agriculture. But now, it's been 15 years that what he does is he still prunes trees, he still picks fruit, but specifically walnuts, because he owns his own orchard for the last 15 years. So that's definitely the circle right there. My mother and my father, they worked at the cannery. They both retired. My mother just retired last year. And I'm very, very proud of the upbringing that they gave us, because it's through the hard work that's truly what instills the values that we carry, the value and the ethic of hard work. And how in the world was I not going to honor them by applying myself? And if they gave me that opportunity to be able to pursue a better future, to go in for it and look for it. So that is my dad right there. Isn't that a beautiful picture? So, let me see if this will work. So growing up, these are the things that I liked the most. One of them was my dad used to take us, my mother and my dad, he used to take us to the library. And I know it's because my dad loves to read. To this day, he loves to read. So they would take us to Stanislaus County Library, and we would check out books. We didn't have a lingual education when I was growing up. So we would check out both books in Spanish and English. And so that's how I learned to read in Spanish. And we would love our trips. And Nora, my sister here, can definitely convey that, and my sister Ondina, who's here as well. We used to love going to the library. At that time, it was 4 of us little ones. We used to have a truck, and it was a 1-cabin truck. And we would all be crammed in, all 4 of us. And sometimes we used to, I always wanted my space. To this day, I'm a type of person that I always want space. But we only had 1 cabin, so my sister Ondina suffered a lot of pellizcos. Dude, she's touching me, Mom. Mom, she's touching me. Well, how in the world could she not do that? But nevertheless, that 1 cabin little truck, oh my goodness, we had some wonderful memories. We used to go to Cine Mexico, which is at the State Theater. The State Theater now, it used to be called Cine Mexico back in the 80s. And I was able to find that, that's actually a picture of Cine Mexico back then. And us 4, Martha's not here, but we would plan, because my parents could only afford to buy 1 thing for each of us. We were not able to say, I want the popcorn and the Jordan almonds and the soda. So each one of us would buy something. You're gonna get the popcorn, you're gonna get the soda, you're gonna get this, and we would share. So they were also teaching us, to share, right? And the third one is our trips to the park. We used to love to do that. My parents used to take us to the park all the time. My dad, sometimes he had to work at the cannery and also in the fields. So he would just, get home, take a shower. We'd be like, okay, can we go to the park, Dad? Okay, he would go and buy us a watermelon and or go to KFC, and we'd go and have our own little picnic, and we used to go and play at the park. So that was wonderful experiences. Those are the experiences that I could tell you that I really, really have ingrained in my heart. So that's me. And that's Nora, my sister, who's 1 year older than me, and everybody thought we were twins, and myself, and everybody thought we were twins. You blame them. My mom used to dress us alike all the time, and my mom, she would make our clothing, and so we were always styling, right? And so you see that. There we are again. See? That's my mom. I don't know, must have been some style with the wigs or something that my mom's wearing a wig there. So that's the four of us. I couldn't find a lot of pictures of us because I'll tell you more about what happened to our pictures. But I couldn't really find a lot of pictures, but you know, the reason why I put paid on there is because growing up, I remember when I got my first, summer job. It was at Wendy's. And, it was really cool. I was getting my check every, couple weeks. And then suddenly my dad gives Nora the electrical bill, and suddenly he gives me the water bill. Okay, girls, you guys are working, so now you guys are gonna pay this bill. We're like, but we're working so we can have money. But that's why you guys need to learn how to pay bills. And I will tell you, and I tell this story all the time to Brian, and I tell him, the reason why, because he always says, why do you always turn off your lights? Why do you, I was so used to it that because when it was the electrical bill, because we would rotate it, when it was the electrical bill, trust me, we were like, okay, turning off the lights, because we knew that that's how we would have a lower bill. The water, my mom was washing the dishes, and sometimes she would leave it on, because she was like, can you just turn that off? And, can we do it this way? Because we knew, somebody was in the shower for a long time. But that's how we learned also to pay our there was different lessons that are learned at each step of the way. And we didn't know, but that's the way we started learning. So these are my sisters. This is the only picture I could find of all my sisters. And I think we're due for another picture. But this one's a little bit more emotional for me because we're six sisters with completely different journeys. Each one of us have completely different journeys. But what's really nice is we have one home, and it's our parents' home. And every Sunday we're there with our parents, and God forbid we miss it, because my mom and my dad, they'll make sure to call us, hey, you didn't come see us. But every Sunday we're there, all of us, and they really, truly are our treasure. So this is my education. How many people went to Robertson Road here? All right, my fellow road runners. Mark Twain? Anybody from Mark Twain? Yeah. 8th and 9th grade, we went to Mexico. My parents took us to Mexico. He had this business venture that he thought, okay, we're gonna buy this. Oh, I think it's okay. I got it. So one thing that, and that was, if you really think about it, 8th and 9th grade are very, very important grades. It was definitely our coming of age. And suddenly it was this culture shock. Because first and foremost, we had never had a formal education in Spanish. And here we were expected to write certain way. But that really taught us to really value our language, to really value our culture and learn more about where we come from. So our 8th and 9th grades, we did it in Mexico. This looks really neat, but it was going back and forth, and I'll tell you why, because then we ended up at Modesto High School as sophomores. And it was really hard for me to adjust. It was really hard for me to adjust because I had been gone for 2 years. And even though some of the people that had been my friends through grade school, it was just, there was this distant separation because I liked to listen to Bronco and they were listening to New Kids on the Block. And I'd be like, no, but look, listen to Bronco, listen to Rock en Español, this is so awesome. They'd be like, what is that? So there was a disconnect, there was a disconnect. And so I really just kind of wanted to get high school over with. So I was a senior in high school. And I remember, my parents would always tell us, when you go to college, they didn't know how the heck we were going to get there, but they would just tell us, when you go to college, because of that barrier, but they knew that they wanted us to go. And back then, at Modesto High School, we didn't have the Jorge Perez that we have now as our counselors, that look like us, that understand us, that know where we know about our background. I had a Carol Benthine, was her name. And I remember her calling me in, and I told her I want to go to college. And she said, did your parents save for college? Or how much do your parents have saved for college? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know. It's 4 of us. Now it was 5 of us. I thought, oh my God, I don't know. I got to ask. We were very cognizant always. We didn't want to burden our parents with expenses when we were growing up, because it was my sister and I were in the same grade, and we knew how expensive some things were. And I remember back then, college was like $6,567. And I remember that figure because she showed it to me in a grid, and she says, this is how much it costs to go to college. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know if I can do that. She was definitely not Jorge Perez, because if it would have been Jorge Perez, I knew that he would have said, you know what, this is what you can do, this is what you can do, get your parents in here, let's talk to them. She said, why don't you become a hairdresser? There's vocational colleges, and there's nothing wrong with being a hairdresser. But when a child is telling you that they want to go to college, I believe as a counselor, you're going to help them. You're going to be able to help them, because let me tell you, I did not know anyone. Nobody in our circle had gone to college, because we were the eldest ones. I was the second of the family. So none of my parents' friends, none of the parents, none of our circle. I didn't know anybody that went to college, so I really didn't have anybody that could guide me. So I thought, well, I got offered a full-time job at the bank that I was working in the summer. I thought, oh, this is so cool, I can start earning money. And then my dad tells me, now that you're working full-time, now you're going to pay rent. Oh my God, first I thought it was the bill. I thought I could get away with the bill. Nope. $300 a month in rent. That's a fortune. I remember minimum wage back then was $5.75. And as a teller, I was making $6, and I thought I was rich. And I'm thinking, $300? Dad, I make like $650 every 2 weeks. No, like a month. It was a month that I said I would make. Half of it. I'll tell you what happened with that money. But at the same time, I decided to go to Modesto Junior College. And because I was working full time, I had to find classes that I could accommodate with my schedule. So we were looking at evening classes, just to be able to get into some of the classes that I needed to get in. I was on the waiting list. I would get really discouraged. Sometimes I would just kind of like, I'll just take 2 classes, or I'll just take 1 this semester. So it took me like 4 years to be able to accumulate all of my classes to be able to transfer. So this was like a straight line there, but it was not a straight line. Then I thought, okay, now I want to go to college. By then, my little sister, Ondina, was already in college, actually. She had already started Stanislaus State. So she beat me to it. I'm like, oh my God, this girl beats me because she went straight. And so I checked out Stanislaus State, but I couldn't, the career I wanted to go into business administration, it was really hard to be able to get into the classes during the daytime. And they really didn't have as many classes in the evening. So I thought, okay, if I give up, I'm just going to give up. Because college is obviously not for me. And I remember, I thought to myself, I can't do that to my parents. Because everything that they had sacrificed, at every time that they would talk about, when you guys go to college, when we were little, cuando vayan a la universidad, cuando vayan al colegio, ¿y qué vas a hacer cuando quieras ser grande, cuando seas grande? What are you going to be when you grow up? And I'm like, oh, it's true. Can't do that to them. So then I checked out University of Phoenix, and they had a campus in Lathrop, and I was able to go for a 2-year program, 2 nights, it was 2 evenings a week, And it was a Saturday, like every other Saturday. So I was able to do that. I finally finished my bachelor's in business administration, and I owed a bunch of money because I didn't know nothing about scholarships. I really didn't know anything. And I didn't qualify for a lot of things because I was already working full time, so I didn't really qualify for any financial aid. But I had finished. And I wanted to go for my master's degree, but there was no way I was going to be able to afford that. So I said, that's going to have to wait. But that was a goal. Never to forget where you want to go. So that was something that I just put here on the slide. A long time later, 8 years later, actually, when I knew that my student loans were going to be paid in a couple years, that's when I started my master's program. So as soon as I finished my master's program, I had finished paying off my my first wave of loans, and I finally was able to obtain my master's in public health. But that was not an easy task. It was very, very stressful. And I had some wonderful people out there that would that are actually here. Jessica, my friend, she brought me food a couple of times because I was working on my studies, and I could only do it on the weekends. And they knew that I wasn't cooking and that I really didn't have time. When I was working on my thesis, I really didn't have time to even go and buy something at the local fast food restaurant. So she would bring food over, and that's something that, I never forget. So thank you for that. So my working career, like I said, my first job was in the banking industry. And it was at Bank of America, right next to Modesto High School. So the reason why I said that I wanted to finish high school just quick, I just wanted to get over with, because I didn't really feel I was connecting very well. Most of the classes that I had were advanced classes, so I was able to finish high school. And the last year that I was there, I only had to go part-time, like lunchtime. So I only had like 3 or 4 periods. So anyways, bottom line is that I started working at Bank of America. In February, they hired me. So I would just walk to work. And one of the things, I was in the banking industry for 15 years. I was in the other one for 10 years. So one of the things that I really enjoyed doing when I was there is financial literacy. People would wait for me an hour, 2 hours, just so that I could explain to them how a checking account works, how to write a check, how to read a statement, how the loan works, what is the difference between the APR and the APY. There was a lot of need in my community. There was a lot of need in regards to financial literacy. And my favorite part of my job was that, being able to help. And people didn't care if they had to wait 2 hours. And Griselda can attest to that, because Griselda was working with me. And they didn't care. They waited there. They were so patient there. And because I took that time, and I loved that. So after 15 years of working in the banking industry, I'm like, I really need to do more. Now I knew my job well. I'm like, there has to be something else. So I reconnected with my friend, Maria Jaime, who's here. And she said, do you want to get involved with community? I said, I do. Tell me more. Tell me more about this. And she said, there's this board that I'm a part of. It's called the Latino Business Association Foundation. What do you guys do? And she said, well, we provide scholarships for youth and mini grants to organizations that support underserved communities, specifically Latinos. And I said, oh my God, I want to learn more about this. Take me there. Please take me there. So she did. And oh my goodness, it was so eye-opening. I saw this group of people that were doing so many things selfishly on their free time. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to do that. So I started getting